So Agah, I said very, I said many things about how outstanding of a scientist you are. And one of the things that a scientist needs to be able to do is make a hypothesis and then validate it. But that also means kind of making predictions, right? You're trying to predict the future. So I'm going to share my screen and first ask you if you know what this is. I think you do.
Yeah, I do.
Can you explain it for other people?
Yeah, I guess this was a survey on Slate Star Codex, and it was asking you some questions about how comfortable, how confident you are to your answers to a set of questions, and depending on how you respond to that, it's giving this graph that gives, like, the more points aligned on this identity line means that you are really good at making predictions confidently, or at the right balance. That's how I understand it. If they were all,
it's basically, it's called the calibration graph, and it basically asks you to evaluate how much you don't know what you don't know. So it's not only whether you know an answer to the question, it's also with what % probability are you certain that you know or don't know the answer. And I think you know where I'm going with this. Can you guess? I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and they're going to have a definite horizon. And the horizon is the next 2 years that you're going to spend with me as a postdoc, which, again, I'm very flattered at. I think that's the best possible outcome I could wish for. And the horizon is March 2024. Okay. And I would ask you a couple of short questions. You should feel free to expand the context if you want, and then give me a % certainty. Okay. But also, because you are in a public forum, if you want to abstain from that question, you also have that option.
Okay.
I will score your percentages, and in 2 years, we're going to take a look at your calibration graph. How does that sound? All right. So with what % certainty would you say that RT-Hawk by March 2024 will be deployed at 50+ sites in the world?
30%.
30%. All right. What percentage certainty that QMR Lab will have 500+ stargazers on GitHub?
2024.
2024 March.
2024 March, in 2 years. You said 500?
500. Do you want me to change that number if you feel more comfortable giving the?
Unless I swarm people, it's probably not going to happen.
300. Just changed it to 300.
Well, still, I would go between 25%.
25%. All right. 10+ sites in the world use a version of Venus.
Nikola, yeah, I guess you cut off.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Hello?
Yeah.
Yeah. 10+ sites use a version of Venus.
Well, given the projects and everything, I would go with 60% for that one.
All right. 100+ sites in the world deploy some sort of vendor neutral sequence. Doesn't have to be Venus. You can maybe expand on what the alternatives are and your % estimate.
For 100+ sites, I would say 50% for that one.
All right.
I would just toss a coin for that.
All right. At least one vendor is fully BIDS compatible.
Yeah, 5%. It's
vendors make some part of their software or hardware open source. Could be just the tiniest package possible.
Open source, as in,
the pulse sequence is open source, or the post-processing routine is open source, but the actual, not the one that's actually adopted from elsewhere.
Of their own product. That
of their own product, exactly.
Money out of, yeah, it's again 5%.
5%. Our cardiac T1 mapping paper is published in a peer-reviewed journal. You might want to say about that one if people don't, because people don't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah, for that one, I can give 70%, depending on how yeah, I can say 70% and put all my effort to publish it.
And you'll get at least that one correct.
Is that a conflict of interest? But yeah.
Well, then make it 90 then. We get some federal funding for your project.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's at least one. Is that?
Yep, any. $1.
Or any. Okay, then I guess it's 80%.
80%. All right. We get more than $500,000 for your project.
Well, it's 50% in that case.
50%. All right. All right. The journal MRM starts making reviews public. At least one article gets a public review out there.
For at least one, I can say that because you are probably going to make it. So I would go with 90% for that one. With the
all right. Your most cited work has more than 100 citations.
Yeah, I think I would give that an 80 as well.
80%. All right. You have a total of 1,000 plus citations.
In 2 years?
In 2 years.
No, I don't think so. For that, I would say 30%.
30%?
Yeah.
You have more than 1,000 followers on Twitter.
Yeah, I can do that. It's for that I go with 75.
75%.
75 as well.
All right. You get to attend an ISMRM conference in person.
Yeah, so it's 50% for sure.
Because by the way, Agah has never attended an ISMRM conference in person, partly because of prisons and partly because of visas. You become an ISMRM Junior Fellow.
Yeah, I see the around again 35%.
All right.
I don't know.
And finally, in 2 years, you continue in academia. After 2 years.
After 2 years. Well, is it, if I scale it to the 10-year track positions, it's 1%, but I can be more generous and say 20%.
All right. Agah, it's been a pleasure. And the fact that you didn't abstain from answering any of these questions just speaks to how brave you are. So I thank you. You wrapped this up with my full support and confidence. And I really hope we turn those 20% to something more.
Yeah, I hope so. It was really fun. Thank you, by the way. It's